Have your Trello card links in your custom email notifications stopped being clickable? This happened to me the other day when I was working with a client. We were setting up a custom automation for her so that it'd be easy for her and her client to just click through the email and go straight to the card. But in Outlook, it wasn't a clickable link. Luckily, there's a super simple fix that I'm going to show you in this video. But before we dive into that, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial or upload. All right, let's get into Trello. All right, so we're already right here. We're at a rule. I'm going to go ahead and just set up a quick automation rule for this. So let's just say when a card is added to a particular list, let's say the working on today list, really doesn't matter. It could be any trigger. But what we're doing is we're sending a custom email notification. Why would you want to do this versus using the email notifications that are built in? Lots of reasons. How much time do you have? The first one being that you can be really specific with which actions, which activities trigger a notification versus the options within Trello, which is to get notified of everything automatically, to get notified of everything once a day. You can't really be as filtered down and customized with which things you're notified for and which things you aren't if you're using their native email notifications. So personally, I always turn those off, and any emails that I do need, I'm going to set up through a workflow like this. But also you can be really specific about what information is provided. So if this notification is coming to you, that may or may not be as important. But if in the case that we were dealing with, this is a notification that goes to a client that may not be super familiar with Trello or how any of that stuff works, you want this to be as easy for them as possible. So this email, we're able to set it up with a subject line that is dynamic, that can tell them exactly which thing we're talking about. In this case, we were talking about properties because this is real estate. So you can tell them which property we're talking about. And then inside the email, you can customize the language with dynamic text. We're not going to get into all of that, but include a clickable link so that whether they're on their phone or they're on their computer, they can easily click this link or these words or whatever and open the card immediately. No navigation, no figuring it out. I had set this one up the way I normally do it, just using the trigger card link variable, which I've shown before. But for some reason, when we were testing it with my client, she got the email, but it wasn't a clickable link. So I had to do a little bit of troubleshooting. I discovered that in Outlook, those are not clickable links anymore. I don't know when that changed or why it changed. If it's Gmail, it is still clickable. So it has nothing to do with the way that Trello is set up necessarily with their variables, but it has everything to do with what platform your client or the receiver of the email is using to open it. But in this case, my client doesn't need to worry about what email platform their client uses, right? That's too many variables. We want it to be dummy proof. So what we did was we actually set it up so that the email notification that we're sending is forcing it into a clickable URL. So let me show you how we did that. First off, to send an email notification, you're going to come here in the actions to the content option. You're going to scroll down here, and here's where you're going to find your email notification options. You're going to go ahead and put in an email address. You can put in more than one and just separate them with semicolons as it tells you here at the bottom. And then in your subject line, this is where you can have either standard text or, like I said, use a variable. So in this case, we could say something like trigger card name is ready. I mean, it depends on your situation, right? And then we're going to type in some, placeholder text, whatever you would want that to tell you, whatever information is important for the receiver to know. And then we're going to say that you can click here to go straight to the card. So let's just say we'll do to view this card. And then here's where previously I'd always just used that variable, which is very similar to this one, but trigger card link. That's what wasn't working. So by adding a few things, not only can we force it into being a URL, but we can actually make it so that they don't actually see the URL because those URLs are not always pretty, right? There's a bunch of random letters and numbers. So you can actually make it text that you want them to see instead that is now clickable. So to view this card, let's just say we're going to say click here. So what you need to do, you're going to start with, this is all about the brackets. We're going to use all of them in this setup here. So we're going to do I don't know what the brackets are called. So we're going to just do this bracket first. We're going to type in the text we want them to see. In this case, we'll say click here. We're going to close that bracket, and those are the like hard edge brackets. And if you're wondering, if you're curious, what we're doing here is using a format called Markdown to use certain symbols and things like that to tell the text how we want it to appear. That's how we're forcing it to be a URL. So we've got our kind of hard brackets with the text in the middle that we want displayed in the email. Then we're going to do an open parenthesis, and then we're going to do our open fancy bracket. And here's where we're going to put that dynamic variable where we say trigger card link. We're going to close the fancy bracket, and then we're going to close the parenthesis. You want to make sure there are no spaces in any of that. All of that needs to be connected. And the way that that will appear when it comes through is you'll just see the words click here, and they will be a link. So in most cases, they'll be blue or they'll be underlined. It'll be obvious. But if you want to make it extra obvious in the text of your email, like I did here, to view this card, click here. I made it super obvious, right? So that everybody knows, no matter what device they're on, no matter what platform they're in, that they can click and open the card directly. Super simple fix, and you may not have even realized yet that this is a problem. I wouldn't have if it hadn't come up with my client, but it did, and it is a big deal. So if you have any automations that are set up to do an email notification, I would just go in and preemptively make this switch to all of those email notifications, just because it's better safe than sorry. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you liked it, and more importantly, I hope you found it helpful. If you did, make sure you like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, all the things to help grow this channel and make this community something that I can give even more of my time and attention to. And if you really liked this video, share it with somebody else that you think will find it helpful as well. The online tools for your business do not need to be complicated and overwhelming. It's time to let it be easy.